Hey, welcome back. Have you ever been lying in bed, in that perfect, heavy silence, and heard a noise? Not a creak of the house or a distant siren, but a low, persistent, almost mechanical sound that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. You sit up, you listen harder, and it's gone. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just faint enough to make you question your own senses. Now, imagine that sound never leaves. It becomes the constant, unwelcome soundtrack to your life. This isn't a hypothetical for everyone. For a small town nestled in the high desert of New Mexico, it's a decades-old reality. A mystery that has driven people to despair, to obsession, and to question the very fabric of their reality. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Hidden Histories, the Untold Files. Today, we're diving into episode 31, the Taos Hum, the mystery of the town that hears a noise no one can find. Our story begins, for most of the world, in the early 1990s. The town of Taos, New Mexico, is an artist's colony, a spiritual haven, a place of stunning mountain vistas and profound quiet. But that's when a trickle of complaints to the local newspaper turned into a steady stream. People were hearing something. They described it as a distant diesel engine idling, a low-frequency rumble, a persistent, maddening vibration just at the edge of hearing. They called it the Taos Hum. What made it so bizarre wasn't just the sound itself, but its selectivity. Only about 2% of the local population reported hearing it. You could have two people standing in the same room. One would be driven to the brink by a noise they couldn't escape, and the other would hear nothing but the wind. The hearers, often called hummers, reported that it was louder indoors, especially at night, and that it was particularly noticeable in the quiet, high desert air of Taos. It wasn't just an annoyance. The relentless, inescapable nature of the hum had real consequences. People reported chronic sleep deprivation, dizziness, headaches, nosebleeds, and an unbearable pressure that followed them everywhere. Some simply packed up and left town, finding it the only way to reclaim their sanity. Naturally, when something this strange and specific happens, people look for answers. And that's where our investigation truly begins. The first, most logical assumption was that this was a man-made sound. Teams from Los Alamos National Laboratory, the University of New Mexico, and even volunteers from the Phillips Laboratory were dispatched. They brought in state-of-the-art audio equipment, low-frequency detectors, and seismographs. They checked for everything: underground gas lines, industrial machinery, military communications, secret government projects. This is New Mexico, after all, even the local power grid. They found nothing. No acoustic anomaly matched the reports. The sound, if it was a sound, seemed to be invisible to instrumentation. This was the first major pivot in the mystery. The hum was a subjective phenomenon. It was heard vividly and consistently by a slice of the population, but it left no objective fingerprint on the world. This led to the second wave of theories. Perhaps the source wasn't external, but internal. The medical and psychological explanations came next. Was it tinnitus, that common ringing in the ears? The descriptions didn't quite match. Tinnitus is usually a higher-pitched tone, and it follows the individual, not a location. Hearers said the hum changed depending on where they were in Taos. Could it be a form of mass psychogenic illness, a shared delusion? That seemed unlikely given the persistent, isolated, and geographically centered reports over decades. Some researchers pointed to low-frequency infrasound, sound waves below the threshold of human hearing, which can cause feelings of unease, anxiety, and even physical symptoms. But again, the equipment didn't pick up unusual infrasound levels in Taos. Then there were the more expansive theories. Given Taos's location on the Rio Grande Rift, some wondered about geological activity, subtle seismic hums from the Earth itself. Others looked to the sky, proposing secret military experiments with electromagnetic waves or even psychological warfare tests. And, of course, in a town known for its spiritual seekers, there were theories about vibrational energies, ley lines, and portals. The hum had become a Rorschach test, revealing more about the theorist than the phenomenon itself. Here's where I have to bring in a personal perspective. As an engineer, my instinct is to look for the signal in the noise, for the system behind the symptom. But as a storyteller, I'm fascinated by what happens when the tools fail, when the data is silent. The Taos Hum sits in that uncomfortable gap between the measurable and the experiential. It reminds me of something from my own life, back in Bangladesh. In my grandmother's village, there was an old well that was said to sing on certain windy nights. The elders had a story for it, a tale of a spirit. Scientists might say it was a perfect resonance caused by the wind passing over the opening. Both explanations, in their own way, are true. They are different languages describing the same profound experience of the unknown. The Taos Hum feels like that, but amplified to a life-altering degree. It's a modern-day mystery that our 21st century toolkit seems ill-equipped to solve, and that vulnerability, that gap in our understanding, is utterly compelling. What's perhaps most fascinating is that Taos is not alone. Similar persistent, low-frequency hums have been reported all over the world. There's the Bristol hum in England, the Windsor hum in Canada, the Kokomo hum in Indiana. In each case, a small percentage of the population becomes the unwilling audience to a concert no one else can hear. And in almost every case, despite thorough investigations, the source remains elusive. This global pattern tells us something crucial. The Taos Hum is not a local anomaly. It may be a key to understanding a wider, hidden aspect of our reality, whether that reality is acoustic, neurological, or something else entirely. It suggests that human perception is far more varied and sensitive than we assume, and that our environment is filled with whispers we are only just beginning to notice. So where does that leave us? With a mystery, beautifully unsolved. The Taos Hum is a reminder that the world is still full of quiet enigmas. It challenges our need for concrete answers and forces us to sit with uncertainty. It's a story about the limits of perception, the resilience of a community, and the haunting possibility that some of the most profound mysteries are not found in grand historical events, but in the quiet, persistent sounds that follow us into the night. For the hearers in Taos, the search for silence continues. And for the rest of us, their experience is a humbling lesson. Just because you can't hear something doesn't mean it isn't there, shaping someone else's world. Thank you for listening to this episode of Hidden Histories, The Untold Files. If this journey into the audible unknown resonated with you, please share it with someone. Let them hear the story of the sound that can't be found. For more deep dives into history's greatest puzzles, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This is Abnul J. Farabi, signing off from Light Knot Studios. Until next time, keep listening.